Mohammed Patel wins here.
Other than Rd.4.
Oh, he's done it!
Look at these two go!
He's going to do it! His first victory!
The World Championship is done. What a race it's been!
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Formula SimRacing Pro Championship for 2022. This is round 4 and if that sounds a bit strange to you, well, it was a strange set of circumstances that befell us when we were here last. This is a rerun race, of course, from when we were here a couple of months ago. 42 laps on the menu here today at the wonderful Silverstone circuit, the home of British motorsport and motor racing in the UK. And an icon of the Formula 1 calendar and indeed the FSR calendar over the last few years as well. It has wonderful flowing corners and a really nice circuit to drive, but also a nice helping of overtaking opportunities as well, which we hope that the drivers will be using in plenty amounts throughout this race here this afternoon. My name is Ewan O'Leary. I'm stepping in for Zach Sweeney today, who's a bit busy, and alongside me is Richard King once more. So, Richard, welcome along. It's good to have you alongside me, and we're set up for another great race here today. 42 laps, Silverstone circuit. It is it's a good recipe for a good race.
Indeed, a fantastic recipe, and I think we're going to see some amazing racing. Of course, our two championship leaders still without a win in the series. Is a rerun the thing that they need to take their first win this year? I think we'll have to wait to find out. 42 laps, of course. It's not a short race, especially the length of the Silverstone circuit. This is going to be a good one.
It certainly is. Just speaking on those championship standings, we'll bring them up at some point throughout to the broadcast to you. But I can tell you that Jukka-Pekka Laulu is leading them still at the moment. As you say, though, still hasn't won a race in this championship. Neither has Mikko Mancini in second place either. 18 points behind. The top 7, though, separated by only 30 points at the halfway mark in this championship. It is remarkably close in the Pro Championship, as it tends to be. This, of course, a great view on who we might be seeing in the World Championship over the next few years, and those who might be up towards the front, as we saw earlier on with in this season with Jan Grankvist, who took the race win at Malaysia earlier on this season. He's now up in the World Championship doing great things as he did at Spa a few weeks ago, and the list goes on indeed. But here we are in qualifying. Looks fairly overcast at the moment, I have to say, but the guy's just on the outlap at the moment for the traditional 3 laps here, and we'll see who's able to take pole. But it's going to be a real fight, and as I mentioned, very gloomy, I have to say.
Definitely looking quite gloomy. Hopefully it won't be too cold for them to warm their tyres up on their outlap, going to push onto a qualifying lap. We're watching Tucson there with rFactor, who have been really strong across all the disciplines so far this year, and we'll see if they continue that here at Silverstone today. But we're watching the championship leader Laulu and just see those sparks flying. Absolutely love it, heading through some really fast parts of the corners. But we're going to start seeing some laps getting put in as they get on with their first qualifying runs.
Absolutely. Here's Mikko Mancini in second place in the championship, driving for Royal Blue, who are leading the teams as well. You won't be surprised to learn, because Laulu and Mancini are indeed 1-2 in the championship, and indeed they are scoring a lot of points for Royal Blue, in the teams championship, although Netrex Grand Prix are only 15 points behind, so that's another one to watch as well as we go through with the rest of this season. My goodness me, that was a very long slide, and it was spectacular, but not exactly the fastest way to go around turn 3.
No, not going to be able to put in a brilliant lap with that, but a banker lap is always important, so he's going to keep on pushing, see what he can do. You can see it's a 24.7. It's certainly not looking at one of the fastest. 24.4 is the fastest first sector currently put in, and that's by Pasciuto. So he's a few tenths down in that first sector, pushing as wide as he can, though, as we come along the old pitch straight. Full throttle here. Is he going to be able to keep it full power?
Well, it's going to be a slight lift off through here. Just make sure you're within the white lines. As I say earlier, I think this is more of a banker lap time more than an all-out attack to try and get that pole position straight off the bat. We don't typically see that from the opening laps, and this is all going wrong now. It's all falling apart just a little bit through the very final little corner of Maggots and Beckett's there, just running a little bit wide, and it's going to hamper his run on the hanger straight. He has actually got a cut on this lap, I think, as well, so he's just backing off and will be going into the pit lane. Don't often see that. You see the guys just returning to the pit lane on the circuit normally, but not on this occasion. Not a great start for the current runner-up in the championship.
Indeed, it's looking like a really strong start to qualifying, though, for the Ground Effect team, as they are 1, 3 and 4. But we are looking at your championship leader, Lalu, as he comes through the final few corners. It was a purple first sector. It was green in the middle. Let's see what we can do in the final sector. Will it be enough to go onto provisional pole? Crosses the line. And it's enough for third position at the moment. 3 tenths off Van Vukas, who is running at the top.
He is at the moment the only driver to get into the 27 so far. The final driver coming across the line is Matsuidis, who's got into 6th place, just under half a second away from the current pole sitter. And there he is, driving for Ground Effect SimRacing at the moment. Van Vukas. Some difficult names here, I must be honest, but there we are on the provisional pole at the moment, and just making his way on another outlap towards the start line again to try again at the moment. Does look, by the way, we've got 18 drivers on the grid at the moment. We'll get to that in a moment, but we'll just look at the standings in physical form here at the moment, because we couldn't earlier, but we can do now. We'll just see where everybody is. This is where they are coming into this race. Lalu has 18 points of a championship lead, but with the way these points are, it's a very slender lead indeed. It could very easily change over the remaining 5 races.
It certainly can, because if you look at P7 Williams there, Williams has only raced in 2 events so far this year, and he's won both of them. To my surprise, I don't see his name on our qualifying list on the side. I don't think he's here, which is a huge shock, bearing in mind he has completely dominated the last 2 events, and I thought it was going to continue the same here. But that gives drivers like Lalu, drivers like Mancini an extra opportunity here. Can they take their first win? Showing you consistency, though. It really is. Lalu is 18 points clear at the top of the standings without a victory so far. You don't need those wins, you need the results, and he is showing them so far this season.
Yeah, even off there in 3rd is not here today, although we do have Danny van der Neete, who's 4th. Cas Rietveld, can't see him, unfortunately, on the left-hand side of your screen. Can't see Prosciutto there, Williams, you just mentioned. Ampatsidis, where is he? Don't see him on the left-hand side either. Thomas Vac is here. He's currently 7th in this qualifying session. Jan Grankvist, as I mentioned, hasn't been here since Malaysia, where he won the race. I think his efforts have been turned to the World Championship more than anything. Another driver I've not seen on the left-hand side, who was here earlier, Cam Roger. Where the hell has Cam gone?
That's a good point.
Yeah, so, he's not here anymore.
It would be nice to see Cam return, because we're looking for his first finish so far this season, and we are really hoping for it. At Silverstone, of course, he had the retirement. Silverstone, if I remember correctly, he wasn't able to race the first try around here. So it would be nice to see if he can get about at the moment. But we're watching Van Vukas, currently provisional pole. Faster in Sector 1, not in Sector 2. Let's see if he can extend that lead. As you were saying earlier, the only driver to break the 128th and go lower than it. Can he go even further down as he crosses the line of 127.9 to beat? It's not going to be an improvement, unfortunately.
No, half a second away on that second attempt as we go on board with Mancini once again into the final chicane. This is looking a lot better than what we saw on the first lap from him, which was a little bit scrappy. Oh no, it's all gone wrong at the end. The last acceleration zone, and it falls apart for the man who's 2nd place in this championship. He needs a good qualifying, and that is not the way to do it. He comes across the line 4.8 seconds away from provisional pole, with his rival Lalu only a 10th away. This is outrageously close as well, by the way, with Cosmo Prosciutto's lap time there only 0.03 of a second away from Van Vukas. Then we've got Danny van der Neete only 0.04 away. It's an exceptionally close qualifying session, but Mancini is not involved after that. Such a late mistake.
And he needs to get straight out on an outlap and go for it. But he's still sat in the pit lane at the moment. I don't know if he's going to be able to get in a strong lap here, because he's currently out on the pits, out the pits now. So he's exiting. He's going to do his outlap. But the amount of pressure that you're under, you have now got one hot lap to try and go fastest. It's no longer 3 and you can throw away a lap or 2, because he's already thrown away a lap or 2. And now he has got to put it all together and get it to the front, because his championship rival, Lalu, P4 at the moment. But as you say, the top three, you just can't separate them. This is astonishing.
It is very, very close here in the Formula SimRacing Pro Championship 2022 as we go on board with Chatzipantelis at the moment in 10th position, just over half a second away. Look at the top 8 though at the moment, under 3/10. Separate them. Oh, that's a wayward crawl there, I'm afraid, through Brooklands and back to the pit lane for the Netrex driver, I'm afraid. His teammate Fabian Barley is out there at the moment. A little bit worried about the weather, I've got to say. I keep seeing things as thing is raining because it's just gloomy, but it is worrying me a little bit. But anyway,
well, I'm looking out my window and I can tell you I'm about 20 minutes away from Silverstone. It's blue skies, so we're hoping that we'll get some nice clean running today and for this afternoon. But we shall have to wait and see, because at the moment qualifying, as you say, very gloomy indeed. But we're watching Barley. Can he improve on this lap? We shall see. It's green in the middle sector.
it is at least much like his car, you've got to say. But 13th at the moment, trying to break into that top 10 if he can. But is this going to be enough? He does. But I was going to say he does manage to get the power down, but spoke too soon, because he did just get on that curve on the outside line and he just lost it a little bit. And that has put paid to any attempts on this lap, and probably the next one as well, of him actually going through. Van Vukas, or indeed improving, I should say. Van Vukas has not improved either in the first sector, but what about Prosciutto? He is green as he runs down towards Brooklands, fights the car, tries to keep it on the road, and then just lets that car drift out a little bit wider through Luffield to get a straighter exit onto the old pit straight and a nicer run through Copse as well, hopefully. For his sake, he only needs to find 0.003 of a second, of course, and then pole will be his. But there are so many drivers in with a shot of actually taking this pole position. Here he comes into Maggotts and Beckett's. This is going to be wonderfully committed from Prosciutto, just down a couple of gears through the mid part and then a little bit slower for the very end. And it's a decent run onto the hanger straight where he can once again use the DRS. He's once again going quicker. Danny van der Neet and Stephen Michaels are not going to improve from the top 5. Neither is Van Vukas. Is it going to be Cosmo Prosciutto's pole position? He comes towards the final chicane that has unstuck so many before him. Is he going to nail this and take the pole through the left and the right? He does get the power down nicely. A little bit of a correction, but it might just be enough. Over the line, and is it? It is indeed. It's a 27.8, and that is enough for Cosmo Prosciutto to take pole position, surely, by just over 1/10 of a second.
A really strong final lap. It really meant everything there to get the pole position right at the dying stages. A few more drivers come across the line. Can they improve? As it looks like Wack does improve on that lap and moves himself into 6th position, which is a nice end. And it looks like Mancini has been able to get a nice clean lap in right at the end, puts himself into P10. And Cameron Roger returned P13 for him on his one and only flying lap.
Yeah, I think had some connection problems and had to get himself back in again. So 13th for him, but it's pole for Cosmo Prosciutto in this qualifying session. A great lap from him sees him on the front row alongside Costas Van Vukas for ground effect. Danny van der Neet will be lining up behind them with Musadis with a great lap time at the end there on the second row with him. Jukka-Pekka Lalu, championship leader, rounds out the top 5. Thomas Vack jumped up to 6th there with one of the final lap times of the day. Stephen Michaels couldn't really get himself together on the final attempt there, so dropped to 7th, just ahead of Giannis Leonis of ground effect. Then we've got Stuart Barbakov in 9th ahead of Mirko Mancini. The only lap for him is enough for 10th, half a second away, but at least he is inside the top 10 here. It could have been a lot worse for the Italian currently sitting in this second place in this championship. Well, that was a very exciting session indeed. I've got to say, if the race is anything, if that is anything to go by in the race, then we are in for a fantastic one indeed. We saw Cosmo Prosciutto there, basically the whole of his lap putting it together. But now let's go to Mitzi Hoyer, shall we, and see how it's done from his perspective, this wonderful Silverstone circuit.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Formula SimRacing 2022 series. We are at Silverstone, we are at the home of British racing, and I am delighted to take you guys around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit for a flying presentation lap here for round 4 in the Formula SimRacing 2022 series. Turn 1 and turn 2 right and left, flat out king before a heavy braking zone into turn 3. Want to stay very tight here on the inside, a little bit of an acceleration into turn 4. Then easy on the throttle, traction will be key to get out through flat out turn 5, DRS wide open on Wellington Straits towards turn 6. A very good overtaking spot going into 6. Want to kiss the inside curb very late, and then a tight, wide, tight, classic 180-degree turn. Carry all the speed through a flat out turn 8 as we're approaching in 7th gear. Cops corner, 2 downshifts, hug the inside curb, don't run wide on the exit through turn 9, and then the most iconic corner combination, Maggots, Buckets and Chapel. Need to set up rightly for every of those, well, kings into the second DRS zone on Hanger Straight. Turn 15, also known as Stowe Corner. A late braking, trail braking into the inside. Want to hug the curb a bit. Don't want to run too wide here on the exit. And then turn 16, 17, 18, the final complex. Want to stay tight here to open up a good entry into the penultimate corner. Acceleration through the right. Final turn and across the line, guys. That is one lap here around the Silverstone circuit, and we all can't wait to see who's going to win the race in their own divisions.
Welcome back to Silverstone for the rerun of round 4 in the Formula SimRacing Pro Championship. Of course, a big thank you to our sponsors, 3D Wrap, you just saw there, SimLab and Masita Esports as well, along with VCO, who are partnering with us in the broadcasting department here for season 2022. Great to have them all along for the ride. It's been a fantastic one so far. One of the more exciting qualifying sessions so far. Richard King alongside me, Ewan O'Leary. It was very exciting. I guess the one most notable thing to me is that Prosciutto did not set a single purple sector. We talk about consistency in terms of race pace, but you need it in qualifying as well.
Indeed, I was thinking about that when we were just in the break there. He set a really good overall lap time, and I think that's what's important. It's about chaining together each of the sectors. It's brilliant if you can get that first sector at purple, but then if you go off the circuit, as we saw a few drivers do, that's your whole lap then gone. So it's about keeping it together the whole way through, and that's exactly what Prosciutto did, was manage to chain every single corner together in a perfect run all the way to pole position.
Absolutely, and we're going to just take a look now at the grid, the starting positions for this race here at Silverstone. 42 laps here today, and Cosmo Prosciutto, as we know, will be the first driver indeed on the grid. Let's try and get the first 4 up for you. Here we are. We're going now. Prosciutto is indeed alongside Van Vukas. We saw a great battle in qualifying between those two. Are we going to see the same in the race? Let's see. Second row will be Danny van der Neet and Stavros Moussadis as well. Yukopeka Lalu rounds out the top 5 ahead of Thomas Vack. Then it's Stephen Michaels and Giannis Leonis rounding out a ground effect SimRacing row 4. Then in the 9th position, we've got Stoyan Barbakov and Marco Mancini, Royal Blue row 5 indeed, with Patrick Hanko just behind, just outside the top 10. George Statsi-Pantelis is in 12th for Netrex. Then in 13th, it's our very own Cam Roger and Kevin Morville alongside him. Matthew Tootson will be in the 15th position ahead of Casper Nizio. Then final 2 drivers on the grid, or final 3 even. Fabio Barley 17th ahead of Rasmus Andreas, and Harry Smith rounding out your 19-car grid here for the 42-lap race here at Silverstone this afternoon. So then we are on to the formation lap, and there they go down the Wellington straight for the moment. Looking forward to another great race in the Formula Sim Racing Pro Championship. It could really go any which way, this race here, Richard. Don't really know how to call this one. There's so many different drivers with a real good chance of actually winning this race.
Indeed, there are. You've got to look up and down the field about the drivers that have been up at the front throughout the season. I mean, Van der Niet is there starting in P3. You got Van Bucas, who could have his best opportunity getting a P2 last time out, which is best result of the season after he just stepped in to that ground effect team. Riding on board here, though, Mancini, he's got a lot to do if he wants to maintain that P2 in the championship. Now, we talk about Lalu having an 18-point gap. He's got a nice little buffer here, starting P5, but Mancini does not have that. He has only 12 points down to P7, and that could be the difference between finishing in the top 3 in this race and finishing down in P10. There's a lot of movement that needs to be happening for these drivers, but 42 laps is a lot of time to make it.
It is indeed. If you want to extend that further, by the way, 14 points to 8th place. So yeah, it's really, really close at that particular portion of the standings, I should say. But we're coming up towards the line now, and the drivers will just be pulling into place for this race now. Prosciutto on the left, excuse me, as we look at it at the moment, just choosing the or aside the racing line towards turn 1. Can he get a good enough jump though to beat Van Bucas to the first corner? It's going to be so important for him to do that. Of course, a little bit of a break in the field there before the final half of the grid pulls up. A lot of soft tyre runners up towards the front, quite a few medium tyre runners outside of the top 10. Let's see then, as the Formula Sim Racing Pro Championship goes racing once again here at Silverstone. It's the round 4 rerun with Prosciutto versus Van Bucas on the front row. The lights come on now. We're ready to go racing here at Silverstone. And they are indeed out, and we're underway. Cosmo Prosciutto screams under acceleration. They're just getting underway and gets into the lead into turn number 1. Beats Van Bucas to the first corner. Although he's challenged into the third, he does indeed take the lead. Goes a little bit wide indeed through the corner, but will hold on once again. It's mostly single file behind that, and then once you get outside the top 5, it is a bit more crazy. But out of the first few corners, it's Prosciutto, Van Bucas, Van der Niet, Moussadis, Lalu. Your top 5 pretty much unchanged from the starting grid.
Indeed, there was a little bit of a lock-up on Prosciutto as they went into Village, but he managed to get it just in time, get it turned back in, held on to the lead, but there is definitely some fighting going down. Drivers trying to use this opening lap to make the moves, and it looks like there's a little bit of a slide in the background, but everyone keeps it going the right way as they come down now to one of the most spectacular sections on the circuit, obviously. Maggots and Beckett's as they come in. This is the battle for the lead. Not really anything able to do by Van Bucas. He's just got to look at the rear end of Prosciutto, see if he can make a move up following the slipstream. Obviously too early for DRS at the moment.
It is indeed, but push to pass is still in operation. Prosciutto just using a little bit of it down the hanger straight to hold on to that first position. Danny Van der Niet needed a little bit as well to hold on to third at the expense of Moussadis at the moment as well. Into the final few corners of this first lap of the race, it looks like everybody has gotten away cleanly from this, and everybody's got to run around the first lap cleanly as well, as we see a bit of contact, very nearly made to eat my words there, as we go through the final couple of corners, vaulting over the curbs, and it is a bit mad back in the field outside of the top 10. This is where all the fighting really is.
Oh, that was a big switch over there as they head up towards Village, and it's very unsettled by Chatspilitis. He just can't choose his line, and you can just see the rear end kicking out. He's pushing as hard as he can in that next Rex cars, but he's at the moment in a sandwich of teammates, and he's got to try and work his way past as they head up towards one of the overtaking locations on the circuit. Many of them, of course, nothing that he can do there. Has to sit back in P14 at the moment, but the fight is surely on, as that's a big slide in front of him from Nizio. He's able to tuck up the inside and defend him on the outside. A lovely move, taking advantage of that mistake.
And he's still got his hands full though. The Geo right up the back of him, going up towards Cops at the moment, but not able to make a way through there. It is very difficult indeed, but this is very, very crazy battling further down the field. Up front, it's kind of controlled and considered. Look at this at the moment. The battle for third sort of on right now. Vanny van der Neet a little bit on the defensive for now, but he does hold on to that place. A nice run here from Mercedes, and he might be able to make a move into the final chicane. There wasn't much room down there, but he wanted it anyway. Couldn't quite go late enough on the brakes, and will stay in fourth place. Vanny van der Neet holds on, but this is pretty much the only battle inside the top 10. Outside is where it really is kicking off.
And switching focus to outside the top 10, Hanko doing the medium strategy here, which is what quite a few of the drivers at the back are doing. The reason I'm bringing up Hanko in particular is because he's done these alternate strategies before, but here goes Moisadosis on the inside of Van der Neet. They go through and he makes his move for P3. Can he hold it though? The rear wing is wide open as they get down onto the braking point, and that is a nice move for P3, but he slides the car, he's a little bit wide.
Yeah, came into that corner with a bit more speed than he was used to there after a few laps without DRS. He got it again, and all of a sudden going into Brooklands with a lot more speed than before, although Mercedes was able to hang on, and he does have third position. Now Lalu and Michaels are not too far away as well, coming into Cops right now. This four-car battle for third position is allowing the two leaders to get away as well. Prosciutto versus Van Vukas is really going on right now with quite a pace, it has to be said. Prosciutto has already been on the podium a couple of times this season. He wants that win, though, that he hasn't had just yet. We've had four different winners as well, by the way, out of the first 5 races. Are we going to get possibly a fifth? It does look a little bit likely at the moment, but early goings, of course, in this race right now. We do still have a very long way to go. These pressures on at the moment for third and indeed for first. But the battle we just saw there between Mercedes and Van der Neet about this time last lap has really allowed that front pairing just to get a second or two out front at the moment.
A really good battle going on here for P3, but as you said, allowing the leading two to get away. Are they going to sort of settle it down, do you think? Just now start to run in line, try to get the way and work their way back towards the leading two? Or do you think they're just going to keep on fighting it out in a very early stage of this race? We're only on lap 4 of 42. What do you think's going through their mind at the moment, Ewan?
Well, I thought we might actually get some answers there going down to Brooklands to see whether they were going to fight each other or not. It looks like maybe not at this stage. I mean, they're all on the same strategy by the looks of things. I don't really see much point in fighting, as these guys certainly are. Cam Roger down the inside of Hanko there, and it did certainly get a little bit aggressive between the two as well as they go through Woodcut now and into Cops as well over the old pit straight, of course. I'm not entirely sure if that was just a bad cut on the camera, or if Cam Roger really was just stuffing it down the inside like no tomorrow. But there we are. That was a lot of contact between the two through Luffield. A good start from Roger, actually, by the way, in this race. He did actually get up to 10th at the end of the first lap, but he has been dropping back a little bit. The soft tyre runners getting through on him. Was he to blame here or not? On the defensive, coming down in towards Brooklands. This is all very nice from Hanko into the first part of it. I think this is just a cut of the camera angle there, and he actually got squeezed himself. I think did Cam there, so not much blame to be put there. Just a little bit of rubbing between the two.
Indeed, and I think they're both going to come out of this just thinking it was. Rubbing is racing. However, I wouldn't put it past the stewards if there is some sort of report there to hand out a penalty. I must say I've been on the receiving end of a penalty in exactly the same sort of situation. So hopefully these two drivers shake hands at the end and it will all be left at that. Hanko then has made that position. So he's moved up into P11, now the highest running driver on the mediums. But you were saying before we watched the replay there that Cameron Roger did move himself up into 10th position on those mediums, and I think the only reason he is falling back ever so slightly is because he's on the slower compounder tyres at the moment. Thinking back to Silverstone earlier in the year when all the other series competed here, one-stop strategy is a stretch. I think that it keeps you much further ahead on the track because of the length of time a pit stop is. However, the fresh rubber, a circuit as demanding as this, with corners as such as Maggots and Beckets that they're going through there, maybe doing an extra pit stop and getting an extra set of fresh rubber might be helpful for them. But we're looking for a battle in the lead.
Absolutely. Van Vukas was looking down the inside there into Stowe, but didn't really want to risk it for the moment. So coming up to, we've even got battles in behind. Yukapeka Lalu is trying to make up places here. Outside line into the chicane again, and Danny van der Neet is finding this difficult here. He's getting overtaken a little bit left, right and centre over these opening laps. Although it's not a great run out the final corner for Lalu. Oh my goodness me, that was very nearly 3 wide coming down into turn 1, something you do not see very often, even on the first lap here. Never mind the 6th in this race. Van der Neet just ever so slightly on the defensive as well into turn 3, but it's Lalu's position. He's up to 4th. They continue to drop back, and Van der Neet continues to invite more drivers into the fight, including the 2 ground effect cars of Michaels and Leonos, as well as nearly down the inside goes Van Vukas into Brooklands. It is all starting to just kick off a little bit.
Indeed, and with a fight for the lead, that could start to bring those drivers who aren't too far behind. Battle for P3 coming towards, well, I say a battle for P3. Mazidis looking quite comfortable there with almost a 2-second gap over Lalu, so he could sail up towards this fight that's going on and possibly take advantage of any distractions that is happening. So it's a big wobble for Van Vukas as they go through Maggots, getting it settled though for the end of the section and on to Hanger Straight, getting the slipstream, and I believe DRS open as well along this back straight. So trying to close up as much as he possibly can. No push to pass being used there, saving it up for sure for later in the race.
Yeah, where it indeed will become a lot more important as the sun comes out, by the looks of things, at the moment. So there we are. But Van Vukas certainly is applying the pressure, turning the heat up all on his own, you could say, out at the moment, at the end of lap 6 at the moment. Really does depend when these guys decide to come in terms of what strategy they're going to go for. We'll really focus, of course, on the top 10, who are the main drivers on the soft tyres. Chatsipantelis and Kevin Morville are finding things difficult at the moment in traffic. They're both stuck behind Cam Roger as things stand on those medium tyres. But whether they go 10 laps or a bit further, maybe to 12, then we'll see if we're going 2-stop or maybe 3-stop. It's, as you said earlier, unlikely we'll see anybody go all the way for a 1-stop, because the time you actually lose here in the pit lane is not actually that big. Remember, it's on the inside of the circuit. You miss out the final chicane and the final corner, so you don't actually lose a lot from pitting. So 3 stops may be possible. It does seem a little bit pointless to go for 1, but if we see a driver sticking it out until about lap 16 and further on, maybe even, then it certainly will be the 1-stop for them. But let's see. It is all a bit of a waiting game until about the lap 10 point, where we really will start to get some answers to these questions.
Indeed, anyone pitting around lap 10, they're definitely going to go for the 3-stop and have the more stops, less time on the tyres. But here we go, Van Vukas, DRS open, and it's going to move to the right. That was pushed past by Prosciutto to trying to make the defending move, but he can't do it. Forced to the outside, a bit of a slide to Van Vukas. Off the circuit goes Prosciutto. There's a little bit of a nod as they go into Club. As that's Van Vukas giving as little room as possible. They're still side by side. They're still banging tyres. As once again, Prosciutto gets shut out, and a big step of oversteer. Van Vukas into the lead, but not without using his shoulders.
Absolutely, and not without using his elbows either. It was aggressive, certainly, from Van Vukas, but he has made his move, and he is up a position into P1, of course, as into the pit lane for Hanko and Harry Smith at the end of lap 7 for some reason. Not entirely sure why they've come in so early, but it's Van Vukas who now leads the field. Bit of push to pass as well out of Aintree for him, just to get away from Prosciutto, who now enjoys the DRS down the Wellington Straight and the Hanger Straight, of course, and will apply that pressure once more to the ground effect car that doesn't really look very much stuck to the ground at the moment. It is sliding about all over the place, especially on the rear through Stowe. You could certainly excuse him not giving too much room through Stowe there, because he was trying to get his own car under control, but certainly into the final chicane he was very aggressive in his overtaking move for the lead. Will he be similarly aggressive in his defence, as Prosciutto is applying pressure here and surely will be going for a move at the end of this straight, although it's not a great run out of Maggots and Beckett's. It's a little bit of push to pass as well for Van Vukas, and that is going to ensure another lap in the lead for him.
Van Vukas got to be careful though, because coming off the old pit straight, he ran wide, going through that very fast right-hander. Do that too many times, you are going to pick up a default corner cutting penalty, and he can't risk that. So already the pressure very possibly getting to him as he's trying to increase the gap. But a very early switch for the lead, just 8 laps through in this race. Fortitude to go, strategy is definitely going to play a part, and I'm interested to see where those back-end medium runners might be able to filter in once all these soft drivers start to pit, because they could have an effect on the outcome of this race, whether they're up at the front or they're just back markers that these drivers have to get past.
Yeah, or if they indeed have to get past them at all. Have they stretched out enough margin to actually get out ahead of most of them? Let's see, Cam Rogers only 15 seconds away or so as Prosciutto goes very wide through Buckens. Got a bit of a replay coming up right now, I believe, of something. I didn't quite hear what it was, but we're about to see. Here we are. It's the battle for the lead, of course. Van Buckus wrestling with the car through Stowe, and then a little bit of contact, and then really trying to shut the door into the chicane, but he made sure he was there, didn't he, Prosciutto? Although the inside line for the final couple of corners, Van Buckus was able to hold on to that place in the lead, and he keeps things nicely on the road as well over the line. So there you have it. This is the off-board shot, and Prosciutto couldn't in the end hold on. But it wasn't too aggressive from the start. I know there was a bit of contact, and Prosciutto might not be that happy about it, but it was a fair enough move from Van Buckus, who is still in the lead.
I gotta stay on the fence on that one. I think there was a lot of argy-bargy, very possibly not a lot of room left, but I think it was fantastic racing either way. You can just see there, he's squeezed right up into the centre, not leaving any space, any chance, and right to the apex. He doesn't even allow a car's width there, which is a perfect way to hold on to your position, of course. Not that Prosciutto, as you say, was see it that way, but he's down to P3. What's happened here? He's lost the position to Savros Mazidis here, who's moved himself into P2, possibly taking advantage of Prosciutto's failed attempt at getting back past Van Buckus.
I don't think it was an overtake. I think it might have been a mistake from Prosciutto, because if you look at the gap to Van Buckus, it's still quite large up the front of the field, or about where it was before, which suggests that Prosciutto has dropped out of the little duo he was in into this bit of a crazy group. We might be about to see what has gone on here for the American. It's down into Stowe, or up into Stowe, I should say, the little rise in the road, and he was under pressure coming into here. It looks like it's going to be a very similar overtake to what we saw from Van Buckus to take the lead. Prosciutto all out of shape, trying to go on the defensive. In the end, let the inside line go, and he almost let that second position go there, and he's down to third. I wasn't expecting that. I thought it was a mistake, actually, from Prosciutto, but clearly he is struggling right now. He loses a lot of time to Mazidis, and now Lalu is on his case as well.
I'm just trying to have a look at his tyres as much as I can there. It looks like maybe he's pushing his softs just a bit too hard at the starting point in this race. Might be seeing an early stop, and that's exactly what we're going to see. It looks like this is going to go for a 3-stop race for Prosciutto, which could pay out in the end. Like I say, the fresh rubber, it is much faster on this circuit than even 5-6 lap old tyres. So he's going to come up to the pits here. He's going to come to a stop. Who else is in with him? It looks like Lianos is of the Grand Effect team. Is also pitting, reserving this race. It's his second reserved race in a row. Let's see what he's able to do, as he qualified quite close to his teammates, who are full-time pro drivers.
Yeah, indeed, 8th place on the qualifying. Came into the pit lane from 7th in this one. Prosciutto not quite able to come out in front of all of the medium tyre runners there, but only behind Cam Roger, who is still doing actually quite a good pace at the front of that little group at the moment, so shouldn't be delayed too much by that. But certainly a free stop for Prosciutto and Lianos in this one. Now, if anybody comes in at lap 11, it's really going to confuse us, because lap 12, and you'd think it's a 2-stop really. Well, let's see, really on this one, because it could even be these guys could even be going a bit further. Who knows what they're going to be doing? I personally hope that we're going to get a split between 3 strategies. Somebody's going to try 1, somebody trying 2, and somebody trying 3. It'd be exciting. But I somehow feel that is not going to happen, because nobody really wants to do a 1-stop strategy around here. There is the battle between Prosciutto and Roger. We can barely call it a battle, because Prosciutto has already made his way through.
Fresh rubber as well, so he's going to be able to pull away quite nicely from Cameron Roger. Thinking about how many stops people are going to make, I must say we might even see a 4 or 5 stop strategy from Hanko, who was on medium tyres at the start. I don't know when he came into the stop, but soft tyres onto his car, so an early one for him. But the 2 leaders, Lalu and Van Buckus down... Sorry, my mistake. Lalu and Van der Neet. Van Buckus still out on the circuit at the moment, but lots of cars coming in. You've got to be careful, because there could be a little bit of crossover here, making sure you just keep your car nice and clean on the way in and out.
Now, let's see here. Lalu and Van der Neet about to make their way out. Where's Prosciutto in this? He's out in front of them. and Van der Neet is behind Leonos there. I think we've seen a mistake here from Van der Neet in the pit stops. I think he came in front of Lalu. He's come out behind. He's out behind Leonos as well at this stage on the medium compound tyres. I think he had to reverse back into his pit box. I think his pit box is so early in the lane there that it almost caught him off guard a little bit, if that's even possible. And he might have had to reverse into his box. We might have a look and check. We'll check that. But he's come out behind Leonos, who he was certainly much in front of before. Surely that wasn't all undercut there for him to lose out on all those places.
No, because if he came in at the same time, he can't have done, but he's going to go for the inside.
Oh.
That's so close. It's contact.
He's gone round.
Oh, no.
He's gone round into the old pit exit. He gets back going again rather smartly, but he's unfortunately lost a lot of time. And even Mancini's going to possibly overtake him here by lots of things into Max and Beckett. He does indeed go through, back up into 10th place. But Danny Van der Neet risked it all there with a bit of push to pass on the inside of Kops. And it didn't quite pay off for him. This is the onboard shot. He's pressing the push to pass all the way down this straight. But we're seeing here Leonos not doing the same. Van der Neet trying to stay on the inside line, and Van der Neet just goes around. There's just not quite enough space for the two of them.
It only looked like when he caught the curbing up the inside, it just unsettled his car a little bit, and we can see already when these cars just unsettle, they step out slightly on the direction that they were originally travelling, and obviously that put him straight into the path of the other driver. So he's gone around, flat spotted those tyres, which is not what he's going to want, as he's only just put them on, and now he's got to deal with those vibrations that he's going to have, and it looks like he's already getting involved back in a fight. He's got Mancini ahead of him. He looks to the inside. Is he going to get DRS? He should do from here, but you can just see the flat spots on the tyres as he's driving along. That's going to have a massive impact.
It certainly is, as we see Mancini defending once again there, but back up front, Prosciutto has managed to get back to the front of the group of those who have stopped once in this race already. Lalu has got up into second. Bambukas is down to third, just ahead of his two teammates Leonos and Michaels. Then we've got Nizio and Hanko, and then it's this battle, and he's not learned. Van der Neet is trying to do it again, this time outside line through Kops. Oh my goodness, has he kept it on the road there? It doesn't really look like it. And now Mancini's under pressure from Thomas Bach as well. He's trying to do the same in Magnus and Beckett, but the Royal Blue driver holds on from Thomas Bach, who will have to settle for 11th. That was spectacular from Danny Van der Neet. I'm surprised he even went for it, given what happened only one lap ago, but he did so, as we see Mercedes trying to avoid all of this by going out even one lap longer than everybody. He finally pits now at the end of lap 13. This race has really kicked off with Lalu now ahead of Prosciutto, and he will take the lead.
But he's taken the net lead, of course, because Stavros Mozaitis has just come into the pit lane. So now he is officially in the lead. Mozaitis going 13 whole laps on those set of tyres. So he's gone quite a while. And he's gone back onto another set of softs. Now, we knew that it wasn't going to be a one-stop race. We can see that now. But if he goes the same length, that's going to be lap 26. That seems like a very easy medium stint at the end. Bambukas looking to go up the inside of Prosciutto, though, who is now really under pressure after feeling so comfortable near the beginning of the race with his battle with Bambukas. But, of course, he is ahead of that Grand Effect driver, which is a nice sight for him. But he is following his teammate, Bambukas, all over the rear.
He is at the minute, and remember these two did make a bit of contact for the last time they met, and a little bit wide for Prosciutto there, loses a bit of time through Kops, although there's not enough space for Bambukas to really make a move into this section of corners. Through, it's a nicer line, a much nicer line from Bambukas. He's got a good run now, he's got the push to pass, he's got the DRS. Prosciutto does respond with a little bit of push to pass of his own, but there still might be a move here into Stowe. Nice defending from Prosciutto, just feeding Bambukas around the outside line and then making sure that he wouldn't be able to break late and even attempt that move into Stowe, and so he will hold on to the place as Danny Van der Neet cannot stay out of battles at the minute. Now he's got Hanko just up in front of him, who's starting to suffer on these soft tyres. Down the inside for Van der Neet, he's trying to make his way through around the outside of the second part and then the final corner, but he's not going to. He continues to lose time.
He has. He just did not get a good stop, and then recovering from that as well. He's just hasn't had a good time getting back on the track, and it's really gone downhill in this second sim. But he looks up the inside of Hanko. It looks like that's going to be a nice move, but he's got to hang it around the outside, and that is extremely difficult at such a slow corner. You can see he hasn't been able to do it on the exit, but he is going to get the DRS along the Wellington Straight here as Hanko tries to break the slipstream, but push past enabled. DRS open as we go down into the braking zone. Up the inside, as long as he keeps it on the circuit, that is a nice move and clean up to P7.
He finally is up to 7th, but look at the group he should be involved with. Steve Michaels is a good 5.5 seconds up in front at the moment in that 6th position, and that's where Van der Neat feels he should be. And if you're looking at his championship chances, you certainly say that he should be there as well, as Van Vukas makes a nice run through Magnets and Beckett's. It's more push to pass, it's DRS again. Pursuito responds, but what can he do this time to defend? It's inside line into Stowe corner, and this time it should be Van Vukas' position, although it's a nice run around the outside for Pursuito, and he stays in front again, although it's another dive down the inside to the final chicane. Not able to do it there either. These two are having a fantastic battle.
I think someone's put magnets in both of their cars at the start of this race, because you cannot separate them. No matter what's happening in the race, they are there, nose to tail, and it's been fantastic to watch. But Van Vukas is going to want to get past, because he needs to get past Peugeot as he does a big slide. He needs to get past Peugeot in order to catch Lalu, but he's not going to do it if he keeps on Tokyo drifting on the exit of these Silverstone corners.
He's really getting the power down a lot too soon there, and he's going to suffer for that, I think, with Mercedes down his inside into Brooklands, is he? No, he's going to wait, but he can't afford to wait much longer. He's got the soft tyres on, of course, as well in 4th place at the moment. Needs to make his way through on these medium runners before those softs to start to die a little bit, and then he needs to be the one on the defensive. So he does need to get through here with a little bit more urgency than he is doing at the moment. But let's see, just biding his time right now through Copse for Van Vukas. Thankfully for him, no traction zone on this occasion, so he does stay a bit more planted to the road. But that car all day long has looked a little bit wayward at the rear end. He's been fighting it all day, but that clearly is the way he likes to drive it. Through Magnets and Beckett's, he's nowhere near as close. He's going to be on the defensive on this occasion instead. We go on board with the Valley eSports driver, who's getting absolutely nowhere because the two of them have got DRS. He even lifts off on the way into Stowe. This is not the way I'd be attacking this race. I'd be trying to get in front of Van Vukas here as quickly as possible. He needs to make use of these soft tyres right now while he's got the pace. Instead, he's using these soft tyres to sit behind the three leaders.
Indeed, and I think this is an amazing race that is going on from a driver who obviously is just stepping in. He finished 14th in his first race in the Pro Series last time out, just reserving in this car, but he's here right at the front. What has happened in that short break that they had? He's going to look for P3 up the inside. It's not quite enough boom. He's going to have to stay behind, and it's lost him a bit of time as well because of how tight he had to run.
Yeah, it has indeed. Thankfully for him, Lernos is not too close, so he will get away with it as we see another look from Van Vukas down into Brooklands again. Lalu's not really getting away in this either. You can see him in the foreground of some of these shots here. He's the leader. He's running on his own. He's got all the clean track in front of him, but he's not able to use it right now either. He comes through Cops right now, and he's only got, 8-9 tenths over the likes of Peugeot, Van Vukas, Mercedes as well, into Magnets and Beckett's once again for the 17th time in this race, approaching half distance, not too far away from the second round of pit stops as well, where the strategies will really become a lot clearer. Now Van Vukas is closer. He is the closest he's been for a long time. Peugeot feeds him around the outside once again. Van Vukas hasn't had much joy on this outside line through Stowe, but he might just about this time around. The two of them stay locked together on the exit, and Mercedes wants a piece of this as well. Peugeot late braking on the outside line. He tried to get around there into the inside for the second part, but he's going to pay for it because Mercedes takes advantage of that beautifully. He moves up to third. Peugeot loses 2 places in a matter of corners.
You just saw it as they went into the chicane, as he looks again for the inside of Van Vukas here. It could be the outside in the hairpin. He's there, but is he going to go for the switchback on the exit? Can't quite do it. He's got enough speed, though, to get the push to pass open, the DRS open. Is he going to use it? He is indeed all the way up as he lets go push to pass on the outside bit too far back at the moment to make that move into P2, but he switches over, actually, and he's going to go for the outside again. This is opening the door, though, for Peixoto. Nobody's going to be able to step there. He settles back in, but he has really shown the speed, and he showed his knowledge going into the chicane as he just backed out, seeing what Peixoto and Van Bucas were doing, and he just slipped up the inside, and I think he was waiting for that. Yes, he's on the soft tyres, but he's able to extend his life just a little bit as he sat behind the battling drivers in front. Now he's got to make his move past Van Bucas, try to get into P2, and this is a great opportunity. What a run through Magnus and Beckett, straight to the right-hand side. DRS open, and he is going to be on the inside.
Yeah, he is indeed. Is he going to be able to get through? He brakes later and decisively takes second place there. Oh my goodness, Peixoto as well. Wanted a piece of the action, but very nearly got some action he didn't want there. Right around and caught it beautifully. That was really, really great car control and great reactions as well from the American to catch that, because that could have gone a lot worse for him. We're on board. And you can see the way Mercedes is able to get away on these soft tyres. He needed to make these moves earlier, so he was able to get out front and start putting some of this pace on. But either way, these two have really halted his progress, and they're halting each other's progress at the moment. They're battling once again. Van Bucas and Peixoto have not been able to leave each other alone all day long. Mercedes has finally got himself away from them, and Lalu might be about to feel some of the effects of this as well. Down the inside into Brooklands, and he's going to take the lead of this race.
He's got to think, though, that he's going to get onto the soft tyres in the next stint a lot later in the race than Mercedes is. So he's going to have that run with the more grip, as we've just seen from Mercedes. He's going to be on those slower tyres at the end. The rest of the drivers behind him, they're going to be on the soft. They're going to have the grip for that last run, especially if you see what they're sort of doing with pushing and managing their tyre wear. I do expect this to be a full-on two-stop race for these drivers at the front here. Mercedes going on to mediums for the last stint, and the three drivers behind going on to the softs. But we're getting into the point now we could see a split strategy, and I've always tried to guess the strategy as we go into one of these races. I seem to always get it wrong, but we shall see here. I've guessed it halfway through the race. Let's see what happens as they all settle themselves in.
It does look like it's going to be the two-stop with the soft, medium, soft option, apart from Mercedes, of course, who's going for the mediums at the end, wants to defend from the front instead. The advantage he is going to have, he's going to get an undercut as well, because when he comes in on lap 26, he's going to have about 6 laps, well, maybe not 6 laps, but at least 4, I would say, 2 to 4 laps of a bit of better running here in this race. So out on his own as well, if he can find the clear track space, which is a little bit hard to come by. But he might just about be able to do that one and come out in the lead and then defend from the front, and then who knows. But he still has a tall order in terms of winning this race. So do these two at the moment, because they can't stop tripping over each other. Into Brooklands they go, into Luffield as well. You'd think these two are fighting it out tooth and nail for the World Championship on the final day, but that is not the case. They've just been battling it out for P3 for most of this race.
Indeed, you got to think, though, Van Bucas setting in to the season, he missed the first 2 rounds, so he's got that ground that he needs to make up. That's a bit wide by Peixoto there, but Van Bucas needing to make up the ground as much as he possibly can. He finished in P2 last time out. He is a race-winning contender. He just needs to get it all together for the end of the race. As for Peixoto, obviously Peixoto also yet to win this season, but he has raced from the beginning, so he's got less to make up. But a DNF last time out at Spa certainly didn't help his case. Peixoto is in that top 6. He is within that 30 points to Lalu, but the driver he's trying to catch up to ahead of him at the moment in the race, which isn't going to help him going into the final 4 rounds, of course, starting at Monza in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, absolutely. Got Monza, and then the final 3 races. We don't actually know where we do know where they are, but not in what order. So stay tuned for that. But it's going to be a great run in to the end of the season here, as Harry Smith and George Chatzipantelis and Rasmus Andreasen all put their neck on the line for a 3-stop race by looks of things. Certainly for the likes of Smith and Chatzipantelis, I've definitely seen them in so far. Don't know about Andreasen. I don't know about some of those medium tyre runners who started on those tyres. Have we seen even some of them even in yet? I'm not convinced we've seen the likes of Cam Roger in?
Yeah, we have.
Have we? Okay.
So Roger pitted after 11 laps, which is strange because that's about the same time that we saw the soft tyres really doing their pit stops. So he is on another set of mediums. That looks like a 3-stop definitely coming from Cameron Roger, and it looks like everybody in this race has made at least one stop. And we have got, if I believe, Hanko. I said earlier on, pitted only after 7 laps on his mediums. He is on his second set of softs, so 2 stops so far.
Yes, and he's not going to the end on those softs, with half the race still remaining as we come across the line now. So we'll see what the rest of the race holds for him. But yeah, Cam did say to me a little bit earlier on that he was tempted by the free stop strategy because of the lack of time lost in the pit lane. And it looks like he has been tempted by that one. Although he did say medium and 3 softs. He's decided to go for 2 mediums and 2 softs. He'll presumably be in at the end of this lap, actually. Maybe. As Casper Nizio is off the road somewhere and out the race. I don't know if he's disconnected or whether he's just crashed. He has indeed crashed, we believe, out there on the circuit. And he becomes our second DNF of the day to join Kevin Morville down there as a did not finished. Let's see how it happened. He's just on the back of Stoyan Barbakov here, coming onto the hangar straight, under the bridge. Don't tell me this is contact between the two. It could well be. The walls are quite a long way away from you here, so... Oh, we're interested. Oh. Wow, that was a big bump. And into the wall for Casper Nizio. And it's out of the race, I'm afraid, for him. So that is at the end of his day. That was a huge bump there. It's not the smoothest entry to a corner there, Stowe, but he really did get vaulted up into the air.
So it turned into a plane momentarily as he went through the corner, but it looked like just obviously the correction, overcorrected straight into all high speed. That was a battle for P12 that was going on at the time of that incident, but we're back now looking for the battle for P2. As you can see, Mazidis has pulled away. But you were talking about Cameron Roger. He was saying about the lack of time lost in the pit lane makes the doing the more stops more favourable because of the amount of grip that you get out of it. And you can definitely see that by the end of the race, a driver on old soft tyres and a driver on brand new soft tyres, you're going to see a gap of about probably close to 2 to 3 seconds per lap for these drivers. It is really that amount of difference because of the high-speed corners. You need the grip through Maggots and Beckett's. You need the grips going through a lot of these turns to try and keep as much speed as possible and not just drift wayward. And at the moment, Van Vukas doesn't want to drift wayward. He wants to stick right on the rear end of Lalu, see if he can make a move on the exit of the old pit straight.
Yeah, we will see indeed. Out through over the pit straight again. We are, by the way, into the second half of this race and coming up towards the end of lap 23. Not too far away from Mercedes, coming into the pit lane for the final time. Where is he going to come out? Is it going to be race victory even for him here today? It's going to be tricky for him to do that, of course, but it's going to be a big fight, whoever is going to take this race win, because behind we've got a fantastic fight as well. Yuka-Pekka Lalu and Van Vukas having a big fight. Inside line for Van Vukas, although he breaks early and decides not to go for the move there. Cosmo Prosciutto just watching on from behind as well, with Gionis Leonis as well in that 5th position. Michaels is just a few seconds back as well now in that 6th place. But there's a real big fight at the moment. Any one of the top 5, I would say, still have a very good chance of winning this race.
I'm going to extend that, probably even the top 6, purely because of the strategy calls that are going to be made within the next few laps. Who's going to pit earlier, who's going to pit later. I'm expecting another couple of laps until we see Mazidis down pit lane. He did 13 on his first set of softs. He's only done 10 so far.
Yeah, that was George Stratsipantelis off the road at Maggots and Beckett's there, just on the very final corner of that. He's put the hard tyres on, hoping to go to the end of the race on those. But he is a long way down now in last running position in that 17th place. But of course, points for the top 20 in FSR this season. I'm a big fan of this point system. As much abuse Lewis McGlade has been giving everyone about this. Everyone who likes this, it's a good point system. So anyway, he is going to pick up some, even in that 17th position. However, it is not the race that he wanted as we come through Maggots and Beckett's once again with the leaders. Lalu, of course, on the top of these standings right now is main rival Mancini down in 9th. or at least his closest rival Mancini down in 9th. Most of his close rivals are still behind him at this stage, the likes of Prosciutto, Van der Neek, Vac, Mancini, etc. So it's a good day for him at the moment. Van Vukas is also having a pretty good day. 3rd place for him at the moment, trying to make that 2nd as we get to the end of lap 24. And the waiting game kind of begins down the inside. Oh, it's a late one. Lalu just had to readjust there to give him the room. It's an attempt at a cutback as well from Van Vukas, but he's not able to make the move.
If Lalu gets his P2 again, it's going to be weighing on him that he's yet to get a victory in this season. And yes, he's leading that championship. He's got a nice, healthy lead. But surely that victory's got to come at some point. Is he going to start overstepping the mark, trying to find it? But look at Van Vukas. Sorry, that was on board Van Vukas. Prosciutto right up the rear end of Van Vukas. Even a little bit of a tap as they went through the corner. But here we go. Van Vukas looks to the inside of Lalu, moves up into P2. Lalu down the position. But is he thinking more longevity? He's got P3 at this point in time. That's a good position to be in for his championship standings. No bother getting into an accident, which he very almost did at the chicane, if he can get a podium position.
Yeah, that was a nice move from Van Vukas, but they have lost more time to the leader here. Mercedes now has a 5-second lead, and I don't think he'll be coming in this time, but next time around, it could be the final stop of the day for our race leader. Let's wait and see on that one, of course, as out of Magnussen Beckers we come again. Prosciutto with not a great run out there through Chapel and onto the hanger straight. So he's going to just drop back that little bit off of his teammate. Lalu not really interested in making this move on Van Vukas at all. Of course, Lalu was fantastic in the last pit stop cycle, managed to jump ahead of all of these guys after running in about 5th for most of the first stint of this race. And he was leading the race for a little while. Has been overtaken by a couple of cars now, of course, but he's still right up there, and it remains to be seen what he can do through this final pit stop window and what positions are going to change and where, because he saw one little pit stop mistake during the last cycle for Danny Van der Neek has pretty much consigned him to 7th place. It doesn't look like he's going to be able to get any better than that today.
Indeed, it looks like not only obviously the mistaken pit lane that cost him the time, it was then when he pushed a bit too hard, caused his car to go around, flat spotted the tyres, which he is still on at the moment. They would have obviously settled themselves down a bit, the vibrations would have gone, but the further you wear down into them, the more likely you are to get over that flat spot again, especially as you get right near the end. And you do push these tyres all the way to their limit. In the terms of rFactor 2, you'd be pushing them to about 5% at the most on these tyres, which is a lot more than you would go on quite a lot of cars. So you definitely wear right down to the bones on these tyres, push them as hard and as fast as you can go. But no pit stops so far for your leaders, no secondary pit stops, for your leaders. But this is the lap I would expect Mercedes to be in if he's going to retain his 13.13 on his softs and go to the end on the mediums. He's heading up to the pit lane entrance. Is he going to be pitting in? It doesn't look like he is. So he's going to stay out in the lead, going for a 14th lap on his set of softs.
He is indeed. Who was that coming in behind? It's Leonos. I'm not surprised to see him in early. He was one of those who came in early last time around. He managed to jump up a few positions because of it, but doesn't quite have the pace to stay there as we ride on board with him now. Just breaks down. Does he make his pit box? He does indeed.
So he split this medium directly in half, 15 laps, 16 laps to go. So he's done 15.
Oh, okay.
He's done 15 on his first, and he's going to go the final 16 on these softs. So that is his final stop. And I would say probably you'll see Mercedes in very soon to get onto his mediums for the end of the race. Those on the mediums now, you're probably going to have to wait another, I'd say, 3 or 4 laps before we see them come in.
Oh yeah, the advantage for Mercedes is that he's going to come out in clean air. So if I was him, I would be in now, if I'm honest. But let's see. He might be trying to stretch this out to do another... Well, he can't do another soft stint, can he? He's not used 2 compounds. Well, that's how much he's pushing these tyres at the moment. Actually, forgot about that rule for a moment. There we are. But yeah, he's got to come in soon, I think. Mercedes, 5 seconds of a lead. He's still running well. These soft tyres are holding up a lot better than I thought, but he can come in now. He'll get an undercut on these 3. He'll be in clean air, and he'll be able to defend from the front.
Indeed, he could be stretching it out. You know, if he pushes it another, let's say, 3 laps pits when these guys pit. Yeah. Oh, and as you can see, Van Vukas pitting off the mediums, who's followed Mercedes in. So Van Bucas is going to go onto the softs, Mazidis onto the mediums. Is Van Bucas going to go onto the softs? That being said, he has a choice because he has already done the softs and he has already done the mediums. So right now, he can go on whatever tyre he wants. The softs could take you through to the end at this point, and that's what he's going to go on to. So he's heading off and is continuing on his run now.
He's going to be struggling at the end, though, surely, as we see Leonos off on his outlap. That's not good news for him at all, as Thomas Vac also comes into the pit lane. Van Bucas has indeed just closed that margin by about a second. His pit lane entry there was a bit better than Mercedes, who might have been a little bit more conservative on that one there. Mercedes is only 9 seconds away, though, from the lead at the moment. He's going to be defending from the front for this race. Here is the battle, though. This is what he didn't want, which is coming out in all of this traffic, which is GNS Leonis' downfall, I'm afraid, in this one. A late pit call just up in front. We're focused on the car alongside him at the minute. Oh, dearie me. Well, hard to tell whose fault it really was from that angle there, but it did look like the two of them just came together more than anybody went into anybody else there. I'm not entirely sure. But Leonis, it doesn't matter to him. He's dropped down. 8th place for him. He drops behind Mancini actually now, who's made his final pit stop as well. Really surprised about Van Bucas there going so short on those mediums, but putting the softs on as well. He's going to be struggling at the end of this race.
I was say it's going to be really good for him at this point because he is going to easily be able to close the gap up to Mazidis and get through. But at the end, he is going to have absolutely no grip whatsoever, definitely compared to the mediums, which will be doing much better along the course of the remainder of this race. So it's an interesting call to make.
Oh, no! Disaster for both of these two. Disaster for Royal Blue entirely. These two, Lalo and Pasuto, have had to do a bit of pit stop Jenga here to try and get themselves in. And they've both got it wrong. It's just the way the pit boxes have fallen, and they've lost so much time. They've lost so much time, especially Cosmo Pasuto, who ends up a good 8 seconds behind the leader, whereas he was about 5 before. Here it is. Lalu pulls in here in front, but he's got the pit box behind Pasuto, who has to just get himself in there, and Lalu has to get himself around. They do cost themselves a little bit of time. Actually look worse than it actually was. It looks like the undercut has actually been more disastrous for them than anything else.
I think those fresh set of tyres, they just do have that immediate impact.
Loads of time.
I think that has been the main cause of the time that they've lost. However, they are now on, yes, it doesn't sound like a lot, but a lap fresher tyres, which will have an impact coming towards the end of this race. We're looking at that gap between Mazidis and Van Bucas. Is it going to start closing? Because Van Bucas is going to need it to close. He's going to need to catch up to Mazidis and go past. But is he using his teammate to his advantage? Michaels, another ground effect driver, is leading this way, still out on a set of mediums that he's been on for 17 laps.
Yeah, well spotted. That is exactly what is going on here. Surely for ground effect, Mercedes' life is about to get 10 times more difficult, because Michaels is not going to let him go easily, even though these two are not really in the same race. Michaels has to pit in again, unless he's doing some absolute miracle out here at the moment. He will be pitting again, and it's absolutely inconsequential, this pass. But Michaels straight down the inside from Mercedes. The aggression there. He was not waiting around. He knew exactly what was happening there, and he was not there to sit and watch it. So he dives down the inside, he makes a beautiful move, he gets the DRS and he gets away. The plan has been foiled. Mercedes there. I've never seen a man more set on a position in my life. That was so good though from him, because he needed to get through there desperately.
Indeed, he was determined to make that move, and he did it so nicely. However, you can see the last time I talked about it, the gap was about 4 seconds. It's already down to 3.5. Now, is that just because of the slightly offset line that Mazidis had to go through Village? Very possibly. But I think it's more these soft tyres. We see the advantage that they have over the mediums. They have got more grip. But again, it's not enough at this point in the race. With only coming up to 12 laps to go, the softs are going to come to the end of their peak life in about 6 laps time.
Now then, here, let's go on board with Stavros Mercedes and have a look at this, because this is a great move. Stephen Michaels is on old tyres, of course, but wants to slow things up for his teammate. Mercedes saw it coming. He absolutely dove down the inside, and he got that position with almost no argument. Pushed to pass DRS, down the next straight, see you later, I'm off in the lead. And he has 3.5 seconds of a lead on those medium tyres at the moment, and things all of a sudden start to look better and better for Stavros Moussedis to take his first win in the Pro Championship in 2022. 3 seconds, and this gap is not really shifting.
I mean, first win in his second race, if I'm not mistaken here. So he's obviously just stepped in. So yeah, he stepped in at Spa again, P14 last time out, and he's out in the lead at this point in his second race, which would give us our fifth different race winner of the season as well. But someone who's not involved in this championship fight, I think that's what's going to frustrate Van Vukas and Lalu more than anything else, is this reserve driver is one that's giving them this fight. It's the one that's preventing them for taking a victory. But consistency going Van Vukas' way at the moment. Second position last time out. Could be a P2 here if we can keep those soft tyres all the way to the end. But we're watching a battle here. P8, P9. This is Hanko on the end of a whack.
Yeah, it is indeed. Hanko trying to make his way around the outside of Kops. Oh, no, it's all gone wrong. The two of them go off the road, and Thomas Bach is in the wall at Kops' corner. Oh, dearie me. He was going to the end, or intending to go on to the end there. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to anymore, or whether he's going to have to come in. He might have gotten away with that somehow. Let's have another look at it. This is a huge accident. And
I'm getting flashbacks. It's horrible. As we look at this incident on the outside, just closes the door. I don't know how Wack was so fortunate not to lose his rear wing as he went into that barrier, because that would have been a race ender. He's got back on the track. It looks like he's okay to keep on going.
Wow, he has gotten away with one there, has Thomas Wack. 11th place for him at the moment, and Smith and Hanko are indeed in now. Smith and Hanko, by the way, have been on the strategy of just going all out all race long. And that is exactly why he would make a move like that, and how that has happened. But either way, the two of them are going to meet again by the looks of things, actually. Although Hanko is having quite a long stop at the moment. We go on board with Van Vukas then, through Kops' corner. 10 laps to go at the line.
I did say it earlier, will we see a 5-stop strategy? We have, from Hanko, who's now on his...
Not intended.
Not an intended one. It was a 4-stop intended strategy for him by the looks of it, because he did two laps on the previous set of softs before that instance. So he's back in. So it was quite... he was on fresh tyres, and he was pushing for it. So he was trying hard, and I think that's what's caused the incident to happen, is he's just got those fresh tyres, bit too eager, definitely closed that door a bit too early.
Yeah, possibly trying too hard in that one. Yeah, you mentioned there, Lalu and Van Vukas going to be frustrated about Mercedes possibly winning this race. Firstly, there's still 10 laps to go, but if we look at this championship once again, Van Vukas, for me, 51 points adrift with 5 races remaining. This is a step in the right direction, but for me, he's not really a main contender. He's not really involved from that particular position. But instead, look at the guys that Lalu is gaining points on here today. Cosmo Prosciutto is just behind him. He's still gaining 3 points on the American there. We've got Denny van der Neet down in 7th. That will become 6th when Cam Roger comes into the pit lane. But he's still gaining points on him. Mirko Mancini as well, gaining points on him. He looks like he might well be on his way to finishing 7th. That's another 7 points into him. I reckon Lalu's going to have, at the very least, a 25-point advantage coming out of Silverstone, and I don't think he's going to be complaining about that one bit.
Not at all. He's going to want that win, but at the same time, it's not the wins that have put him in the position in this championship. It's the consistency, it's getting those results. And you saw the moment that he was at risk of getting tagged by Van Vukas, he almost said, do you know what? You go for it. I'm not getting involved. I don't need the win. I don't need the P2. A P3 is better than a retirement. And I must say, Cam Roger is definitely thinking that strategy as well. Anything's better than a retirement. I think this is the longest he's gone into the race. I'm going to touch wood very quickly. He's still got one more stop to go, which I think he's going to be in at the end of this lap, because he's gone 11 laps on both of his previous stints, and he is currently on his 11th. But P6, a nice run. He's obviously going to be on softs for the end of this race and could make a few positions with a substantial amount of grip. Here he comes.
Here we go into the pit lane with Cam Roger. He is indeed. He's never been closer to finishing a race in 2022. Can he do it? Can he do it? He's failed on 3 occasions so far in this season, out of the 5, excuse me. But is it 3? I think it is. It is indeed. He's three out of 5 times. He has failed. He's back on the soft tyres once again. Can he get to the end, and can he get to the top 10? Either looking possible at the moment. Thomas Vack going to go through him, or maybe even not at this stage. He's going to hold on to a top 10 here. It's going to be 10th for Cam Roger.
And on fresh softs.
Fresh softs. Could well get through on Thomas Vack, who's going to be on older mediums here, and he's going to be a bit of a sitting duck. But maybe catching Harry Smith. To be fair, Harry Smith is on quite new softs, and so are a lot of the guys in front of him at the moment. So he is going to struggle, as Thomas Vack looks like he's struggling himself. I'm not entirely sure that it's an undamaged car in front of him at the minute.
Indeed, Wack on 6 old medium tyres and just trying to keep it going with his car at the front. Roger goes right to the rear. I've never been more tense in this moment. Please get through cleanly, Cameron, as he comes up. Could this be an opportunity? Wack's already seen some upsetting scenes through this corner. He's on the inside, though. Roger gets over the grass ever so slightly with inside tyres, trying to get as clean a run through that corner as possible. Moves up to P9. He's just got to keep it together now. It's 10 seconds to the next car on the circuit. Just settle into your own race, Cameron, and you could get a first finish of the season.
It could well be. Is it going to be a first win of the season for one of these two? Neither of them have taken a race win just yet in the Pro Championship. Van Bucas came so close at Spa last time out, of course, with a second position in this one. Mercedes has already won this year in the Academy Championship back at Le Mans. But is it going to be a pro race win for the man out front at the moment on the mediums, or is it going to be for the chaser on the soft right now? Coming out of Luffield, 7 laps to go at the line, about 7.5 as they run right now. This is going to be a monumental fight.
I think Van Bucas has got to get past, probably within the next 2 or 3 laps, because you can already see him starting to slide around on these soft tyres. The mediums are going to give Mercedes such a huge amount of grip over those worn soft, because they pitted in the exact same lap. So the only difference between the two of them is the compound, not how long they've been running, not how fast they've been running, but just the compound of tyre. And we're going to see if Van Bucas is able to nurse those tyres to a victory, or if we're going to start to see the gap increase. Of course, Van Bucas has got to get it down to 0.7 of a second to get the DRS around here. 2 DRS zones, of course, but you can see the wobbling of the rear end. Those tyres are starting to get away from him.
Well, pre-race, I would have agreed with you about Van Bucas needing to get through sooner rather than later, but we saw the way that Mercedes, Stephen Michaels, is in for a 3rd time in this race. Not entirely sure that is an unscheduled stop for my money, but either way, we'll dig into that. It's a penalty.
Oh,
it's a penalty.
okay.
So there we are, been informed by Felix on the cameras once again. Yeah, pre-race, I would have agreed with you about Van Bucas there, but we saw the way Mercedes, I should say, in the second stint of this race, really held on well on those soft tyres, leading this one. He had a 5-second lead at its maximum point, and then he kind of held it there. So instead of actually getting worse than the mediums, they just kind of reached a bit of an equal. So at the moment, I don't think Van Bucas really has to particularly rush here. Although then again, has Mercedes just been managing his tyres a bit better than the rest? I'm not really sure, but I don't think, looking at the body language of that car at the moment, I don't think Van Bucas is going to be doing much waiting. I think he is going to try and get through at the best opportunity, because he is obviously so close at the minute. As we look at a replay of Stephen Michaels right now, this is where he got... is it? No, this is him coming into the pit lane to indeed serve that penalty.
No, that's
this is where he got it,
penalty.
sorry.
Coming into the pits, so just a bit too late on the brakes and getting a bit too fast. And I think if you just watch as he gets to the line, and here the line is, and he's still decreasing in speed, still just a bit too fast. So a real shame for Michaels, who was running in the top 5. It would have been a really great result for the Ground Effect team, but one of their drivers now out of the top 5. It's up to Van Bucas, who is still 9/10 away, so still out of that DRS range, which he's gonna need to really close on to Mercedes with 5.5 laps to go. We are getting really close to the end, and it is by no means over, but you can see already that car very unsettled through the slower corners.
Well, Mercedes at the moment is doing a great job of keeping Van Bucas at arm's distance. You can see, you mentioned the 7/10 DRS window that you need to be in these days in FSR. He's exactly doing that, is Mercedes. He's doing a fantastic job of it through Maggotts and Beckett. This is where Van Vukas really should be gaining time, but really wasn't this time last lap. He's taking too tighter lines into these corners. We've seen him diving for these apexes in the past. We see it a lot of the chicane. If he goes down board right to the end of the lap here, we'll see the way he comes off of the right-hand side, and he really dives for the early apex. And through Maggotts and Beckett's is not the way you need to do it. You need to flow through the corners a bit nicer. This is the corner I was on about. You see how he goes nowhere near the right-hand side through the braking zone there. He doesn't open out the corner and turn in late. He turns in as early as possible, almost as if the corner is going to be taken away from him by someone. And he dives for the first apex. But that's not the way you need to do it in Maggotts and Beckett's, especially when you're in dirty air like this. He needs to flow through the corners a bit nicer, take wider lines on the entry in, and then a wider line for a straighter exit onto the hangar straight, and then he might be able to make the move. But for the moment, Mercedes, I don't want to say he's got the easiest job in the world, but his job is being made easier by Van Vukas at the moment.
Indeed, and it's that Van Vukas is able to close up 3/4 tenths in the first part of the lap, and then he throws it all the way 4 tenths last lap during the Maggotts and Beckett section. But Stefan Michael's day has just gone from bad to that's a big sign from Mercedes, as Van Vukas will be able to take full advantage of that now within the DRS zone. The DRS detection point is just before Maggotts and Beckett's. It's down to half a second. This is all on now for the battle into the lead as they go into Maggotts and Beckett's. Can he get the nice smooth run through the corners? That's definitely felt smoother, and it doesn't look so smooth for Mercedes, as it looks like Van Vukas was closed up a little bit closer. Is that going to be DRS? Yes, it is.
He's got it.
He is going to be able to use that to close the gap up, as this could be a really good fight heading into the final 4 laps.
Mercedes knew it when he made that mistake through Luffield. He immediately got on the push to pass once he was straightened out once again, and over the old pit straight he was on the push to pass, but it was too little too late. We got the DRS for Van Vukas, and he is now a lot closer. He has now got into that window. I do fear slightly for him though that he's run out of push to pass, because he's not used any in this fight so far, and it's an incredibly frustrating distance to be at if you're not using any at all. So I just wonder if he's actually run out already in this race with still 4 laps to go. He's got to spend those 4 laps attacking, of course. As we look back from Mercedes at the moment, he has got 3.5 of the longest laps he's ever done in his sim racing career ahead of him right now as they go down towards Brooklands again. Van Vukas not close enough here, but what will the story be by the time we get up towards Stowe? Because that has been his favourite overtaking move so far, and he's been successful a fair few times as well, as we saw at Cosmo Pasuto's expense in the first half of this race. Through Woodcut and over the old start-finish line that we go. Through Cops, he's got to stay close through here. It's much better through Maggotts and Beckett's last time around from Van Vukas. He wasn't diving for the apexes like we saw before. It was much smoother. It was nice. It was flowing. But this time around, he's a little bit wide through the first part, compromising himself through the middle, and he misses the apex at the end. So he's not going to be able to get through here, surely, as Mercedes takes full advantage to get away from him. Down the straight.
No, he's out!
He's out. All of a sudden, he's gone from the race. It looks like a late race disconnection for Van Vukas has stolen the chance of him taking this race.
And that is heartbreak for ground effect, because I was saying earlier that Michael's his day has gone bad to us as he's been disqualified, and I don't know what's happened to Van Vukas, because he was so close to getting back into the lead, and all the pressure for Mercedes is now off his shoulders. He's got 3 laps to absolutely coast to the end for 3.5 second gap to Lalu. He's got to keep an eye on that, but it looks like this could be a nice smooth run now for the race lead and for the victory. But that is heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking for Van Vukas, out with just 3 laps to go.
Real late drama here in this race, as we have a replay on board with Van Vukas. Obviously didn't have the greatest run. He wasn't going to make the overtake at that particular lap, but he might have done in the ones afterwards, presuming it is a disconnection. Looking at this, he just disappears all of a sudden, and that it has all of the earmarks of a disconnection, I'm afraid. So that is the end of Van Vukas in this race, and possibly the end of his slim championship hopes that he has. Speaking of the championship, by the way, these two are scrapping for points at the moment in this 4th place. There are 2 up for grabs here at the moment, and weirdly for them, Van Bukers' disconnection there has actually disadvantaged them, because Lalu now has actually gained 4 points out of that. You will be thinking, well, they must have gained as well, but they gain less points, obviously, because they're further down the order in this one. So they have also lost out once more to Lalu even further at the moment. Mancini at the moment, as if it was to end right now, is losing another 9 points to the 18 that he came into today with, as he tries to go through on Van der Neet, and Stoyan Barbakov tries to make his way through on Hanko at the moment, who's going hell for leather still in this race. Thankfully, a little bit more successfully on this occasion.
It's one of those things, though, where we've got the disconnect in the sim community. It's equivalent to an engine failure or the like in the real world. It's our version of that mechanical failure, and it is absolutely heartbreaking. And it's a real shame indeed that we've lost out on a fight, that he's lost out on points, but it has benefited Mancini in this race, Lalu in this race, for that battle for the championship. Mancini needs to make this move, though, past Van der Neet to get into P4. Van der Neet's not going to make this easy at all. They're both going to go tooth and nail all the way to the end, but Mancini is on the slightly fresher tyres, and I say slightly because they are 12 laps old compared to Van der Neet's 14 lap old softs, but they are really pushing with just 1.5 laps to go. The gap at the front, if you look at that, it was 3 seconds. Look at the gap now.
We thought Mercedes had this one in the bag, but he doesn't quite just yet. He does still need to weather this late storm from Jukka-Pekka Lalu, who wants to win a race this season. He has not done it yet. He's finished in the top 10 on all 5 occasions. He's been on the podium twice. He's been on the other 2 steps to the podium, other than the one he wants to be on most. And he's using all of his push to pass in the final 2 laps to make sure that today is the day. 7/10, 3/4 of a second. Whichever way you cut it, it's not enough for Mercedes, who will need to get his defending elbows out once again to hold off Lalu on the final lap of this race. 42 laps here at Silverstone in the Formula Sim Racing Pro Championship 2022. And it's all going to come down to this. Push to pass DRS. Mercedes hasn't got much to defend with. You can see he's really nursing his push to pass, even if he has any left at this stage. Lalu has been saving it. He hasn't really needed it. These final few laps, he's absolutely been going for it. And all of a sudden, Mercedes will be looking into the mirrors with fear. They come through Woodcut for the one final time, and over the old start finish straight through Copse. Lalu will try and stay as close as he possibly can on these wearing soft tyres that will not feel great anymore. But he will have the straight line speed up towards Stowe. Is Mercedes going to have his heart broken late on here? Or is the grip from those mediums just going to hold him out? Are they going to bail him out here? Half a second. He does have push to pass and DRS here, does Lalu. Mercedes has nothing. He's going to have to defend into Stowe with all he's worth. Inside line, but Lalu's got the outside. Can the championship leader finally win a race? He's trying. He's been shut out and into the final chicane. It's more push to pass. He's going to try again. Mercedes lay on the brakes. He skates it in, and he might well have held on. What a defence from Mercedes, who's going to win this race at Silverstone. Lalu's up the back of him over the line. They're so close up towards the line. It's 0.5 of a second. But Mercedes wins it from Lalu. Somehow he holds on. That's an outrageous defence into the final chicane. But he holds on for his first win as Mirko Mancini crashes out on the final lap.
That's not what he wants for the championship, because he's going to lose that P2 surely, with Van der Neet and Peugeot coming home to finish this race. But let's just have a watch at what happened to Mancini on this last lap that's taken away from his points haul with Lalu's astonishing P2 finish. Oh, that's a big side. That would have been DRS open,
absolutely.
And just bit too much of a wobble. That's a tyre everywhere. A huge hit with the barrier, and that is a real disappointment. Let's just have a watch from the offboard. He moves to the left, sudden slide to the right, and that is a major impact. Comes back on the circuit, luckily not collecting anyone else, but devastation for many at the end of this race, and I don't think we can focus on that. We have to focus on Mercedes's fantastic defense right at the end to take a first position in his second pro race. That was an absolutely stellar way to finish this Pro Series race.
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. This is how it happened. Jukka-Pekka Lalu trying to get through He had the push to pass, the DRS, he had everything. But he didn't have the race win. Outside line into Stowe, here it was. It was great defending here from Mercedes, but the more impressive thing is coming up in a few moments' time. Lalu just didn't really have the grip around the outside there. What's this on the left-hand side? Rear brakes, out of control, but he stays in the lead. Unbelievable. And he holds on for his first race win in the Formula Sim Racing Pro Championship by only half a tenth of a second. Lalu misses out again. He extends his championship lead wildly with that late crash of Mirko Mancini as well. But Mercedes is the winner on the day. And that was an unbelievable finish.
It really was. And Lalu matching his personal best of a P2 finish and his third podium of the season. Basciuto matching his best of a P3 finish and again a third podium of the season. Lalu's consistency is excellent. As that is certainly an interesting way to celebrate. We haven't had very many good burnouts this year, but I think that outdoes them all. For sure. What an amazing way to finish what is a fantastic race. And the racing day is certainly not over. And I think that is just going to prove how great the rest of the season is going to be. Of course, 4 more races left in the season. And we still have, of course, the World Championship race being rerun as well.
We do indeed. But Stavros Mercedes is the winner at the end of 42 laps. Jukka-Pekka Lalu just missing out with Cosmo Basciuto rounding out the podium. Danny van der Neet does hold on for 4th ahead of Harry Smith, who we didn't talk about much of the day, but ends up in 5th. Cameron Roger finishes a race and he finishes in 6th position.
Yes.
Round of applause everywhere for him. Patrick
Fantastic.
Hanko finishes in 7th. Stoyan Barbakoff just behind him with Fabio Vale in 9th. Mirko Mancini classified 10th. I don't know if that will stand or whether he will drop further from there. But either way, it's not a good day for the Italian. GNS Leonis drops to 10th as well. Not a good day for him, I'm afraid, after being up there earlier on. Thomas Vack outside the top 10, I'm afraid, with that crash at Kopp's Corner. George Saxon-Panzer is 12th, and Erasmus Andreasen, the final finisher on the day. Van Bucas, Tucson, Nizio, Moorville and Michaels all did not make it to the finish. Well, what a fantastic race that was. I've not seen a better race, not just in Formula Sim Racing, in the World Championship, in the Pro and Academy, not just in Sim Racing, but at all this year in 2022. That was excellent entertainment. Lalu and Mercedes, hats off to the both of them, but it's Mercedes on the day. What a great race, though.
I think you've got to include Van Vukas into that in an amazing race,
yeah,
and a shame that it ended in the way it did. But completely under the radar, must I say, Cameron Roger. Obviously, he was in P6 at one point, and the fact that he recovered after his pit stop and went all the way back into P6 was amazing. But Italy, Monza, the Temple of Speed is coming on the 26th of June. I cannot wait.
Absolutely, it is going to be a great show indeed, and make sure you join us for it. The Academy, Pro and World Championship lineup will return in its more normal form on that weekend as well, I can assure you. So make sure you join us at a couple of weekends' time. That's it from us, though, here from the rerun at the Great British Grand Prix, and what a great race it has been as well. My name's been Ewan O'Leary. I've been alongside Richard King for this race, and Felix van Delft has been behind the cameras. And until we see you in a couple of weekends for Pro, it's goodbye for now.